¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Howdy. Hey. Whoa. All right. Welcome everybody. Sorry about that. I didn't understand why my mic wasn't working. But yeah, there we go. All right. We're good. We're good. Hello. I am glad I can now speak to you guys. The Ponder Monkey, welcome. Sorry, hold on, folks. Let me start this off proper. Welcome everybody. Alio Q Bennett, Derry Bennett, Michael Hassler, Heat. How's it going? Welcome everybody. Sorry about that. I don't know. It is what it is. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Does it sound good? Am I am I coming in okay? No. It turns out that it wasn't the mic. I don't know if there was some kind of update that that happened, but apparently it messed up my inputs and whatnot. Loud and clear. Okay, good, 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 good. That's what matters. All right, folks. Sorry about that. We have quite a few things to cover, and not a lot of time. I thought it was on my side. No, I was. What's weirded out is because what was weirding me out is that 5 by 5. Thank you, appreciate that. What weirded me out is that the um settings on OBS was fine, but there was nothing coming in, and I unmuted it, muted it, unmuted it, muted it, make sure like nothing was wrong there. I looked at the input that was in OBS and everything seemed fine, but for some reason, um, I guess Windows decided to do an update. So when I looked into the actual sound settings, it seems that the Windows decided to mute the microphone for some reason, and if I mute it in Windows, it mutes it everywhere. So, yeah, problem solved, everybody. But it seems like it's okay now. It seems like it's fine. All right, folks, we do have a lot of stuff to cover through. So we're gonna get this started. We're already running. All right. It does happen. Sorry about that. Nice shirt. Thank you. Mike Hunt won. You mean the speakership? I think it's Mike Johnson, right? Or am I talking about, or are you talking about something else? Yeah, Mike Johnson. All right. So this came across my wonderful my wonderful Twitter timeline. I left news on Discord. Well, we'll try to get through some of that. Too big for chat limit? Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like the speakership, the speakership battle is over. Mike Johnson seems to be the new speaker. I would love to push the boundaries, true. A childish joke, my sincere apologies. It went over my head, so... it went over my head. So this wonderful thing came across my timeline. Yeah. No, Matt Walsh's account is not hacked. This is an actual tweet. This is an actual tweet. It's a thing that happened. Our cities would become livable again pretty much overnight if we brought back public executions and hard labor. Yeah. ADT is 12. That's a PG-13 joke. True. True. Actually, no. I can't be 12. Okay, I can't be. Republican Supreme Court Clarence Thomas is slammed with another corruption scandal as it revealed he failed to repay a significant portion of the money borrowed from a friend of $267,230 for a luxury motorhome. Yeah, I mean, is the Supreme Court gonna adopt any type of like official ethics without official ethics codes with actual enforceable consequences if they're broken? No. Well, if it will be public executions like in the French Revolution, no, not those. What he means, what he actually means, is that he wants lynchings and slavery. I mean, it's not really that difficult to read between the lines, right? Yeah, new speaker, yes. New speaker, Mike Johnson. We'll talk about that. And what he's all about. So I mean, it's not really that difficult to read between the lines here. Given the fact that, you know, his history, it's not hard to read between the lines, right? Never mind that like hard labor is already part of like is already part of punishment. Like they literally make you work in prison for pennies on the dollar, if that at all. Like pennies a day. If that, if at all, if that. Yeah, regressive agenda. Well, I mean, yeah, these are conservatives. Even Iran gave up public executions. Jesus. Imagine like that. Imagine that's the bar right here. Imagine how Iran has a slightly better position than you do. And just to be clear, no, cities, I'm going to assume that he's talking about crime. No, this is not how you stop crime, okay? If you brought back public executions and hard labor, this is not how you stop crime. You stop crime by addressing the socioeconomic drivers of crime. And I guarantee you that you are going to see a significant decrease in crime if you address the underlying socioeconomic circumstances that drive crime, drive the majority of crime, right? What does Matt Walsh know about work? Nothing. What he wants is what he wants is lynchings and slavery. That's literally what he wants. I saw in a radio movie about an executioner. The system involves 4 people being hanged simultaneously by push button mechanism. Jesus. They were all Trumpers at the end. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like as I was saying, not that long ago, a couple streams ago, there's no such thing as like a separation between MAGA and the Republican Party. That's it. That there's no meaningful distinction between MAGA and the GOP. It's the same. We'll get into that as to who they elected as their leader, which couldn't have happened without the blessing of Daddy Trump, by the way. Anyways, Matt Walsh might dig that. Yeah. Why do people commit crimes? Usually to survive. A lot of petty crime is literally just being driven by socioeconomic status or socioeconomic circumstances, I should say. A lot of organized crime feeds and preys on the fact that there's poverty. All these like gangs and like for example the cartels and anything that involves like organized crime, they feed on poverty. They need poverty. If you take away poverty or at least try to address it, because I understand that you can't just Thanos snap poverty away, but if you do a lot, an actual effort to alleviate a lot of these socioeconomic circumstances like poverty, it's going to do a lot of damage to organized crime because they can't recruit desperate people. I mean, there's a lot of different angles as to how addressing socioeconomic problems helps to address crime. It's not a new phenomenon, by the way. Okay, that idea of addressing socioeconomic drivers of crime is not a new idea. Okay, I didn't make that up. If you provide people with food, housing, education, healthcare, things like this, crime will go down. Period. Full stop. That's just the nature of the game. You can see in the places that have implemented these type of things, crime rate is usually very, very low. Only countries doing public executions are North Korea, Saudi Arabia, and Somalia. Well, congratulations. Hey, Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh should actually move if he's so into this, which also happens coincidentally. There's forced labor in those countries too. If I'm correct, if I'm not mistaken, there's also hard forced labor. So Matt Walsh should actually move to any of those countries, since it seems to me like that's what he's advocating for. But most felons cannot vote and usually cannot get jobs. Yeah, it's very hard to. It's very hard, which only increases the recidivism, or the chances of you needing to do the crimes to maintain yourself. There's forced labor here already. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I talked about the prisons that literally pay maybe pennies a day and sometimes none, sometimes nothing at all. Corporations that benefit from prison labor to the tune of how much billions of dollars? I think we went over an article. I want to say, was it $4 billion that they benefit from prison labor? Something to that effect. It's a lot. They're not sending their best, folks. Okay? They're not sending their best. Like this is actually crazy. But okay, I mean, that's the right wing for you.
Well, folks, it was more than half a decade in the making, but yesterday, Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's former lawyer slash fixer, finally got his revenge against his former employer. And it, of course, happened in a Manhattan courtroom where Donald Trump is standing trial along with his 2 adult sons and his company as a whole for allegedly, well, not even allegedly, because their guilt has already been determined, but for defrauding the state of New York, defrauding banks, and basically defrauding everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, a con man who has a history of doing con after con after con? What? No way. If we all save up and pool our money, maybe we can bribe some politicians too. True. If only, right? American gulags just like in Russia, minus the vodka. Damn.
Else along the way. And Cohen testified yesterday that he was instructed to, essentially, as he put it, reverse engineer the numbers that Donald Trump would give to him. Here's the way Cohen described it in court. I was tasked by Mr. Trump to increase the total assets based upon a number that he arbitrarily elected. And my responsibility, along with Alan Weisselberg predominantly, was to reverse engineer the various asset classes, increase those assets to achieve the number that Mr. Trump asked us. Then they asked him, well, which number? And Cohen responded, whatever Mr. Trump told us to.
Jesus.
So it wasn't just one particular number. It wasn't just one time. He would come in and do this, I guess, regularly, based on Cohen's testimony. He would write down a number in red pen. He would never put it on the record, right? It was never in an email. It was never in an official memo. And according to forensics experts, Trump wrote it in red pen because that is the one that shows up the poorest when you do a black and white copy of a document. So Trump would write.
Wow. Damn. I mean, like, that in and of itself demonstrates intent, right? It can't be any more clearer than that. If you're trying to, if you're taking active steps, I didn't know this. If you're taking active steps like writing in red ink on purpose so that when they make photocopies or whatever, it'd be really hard to tell. That sounds like you're hiding evidence, my dude. Oh man, wow. Yikes.
Write it in red pen, hand the number to Michael Cohen, and Cohen and Weisselberg and maybe even others, don't know yet, he's going to continue testifying today, would then look at that number and say, okay, we have to engineer these assets that we have and inflate their numbers just enough to become the new number that Donald Trump wants as the total. And of course, this number was not only given out to people in the media when Donald Trump wanted to brag about his assets, it was given to banks, may have been used for tax purposes, again, waiting on more confirmation from today's testimony. But things didn't go well for Donald Trump yesterday, to say the least. And I think Cohen enjoyed it. I think Cohen even enjoyed when Donald Trump lawyer Christopher Keese jumped up dramatically and objected to a statement that Cohen had made, that the objection was in fact overruled by Engoron, but the objection was so dramatic by Christopher Keese that, according to reports, laughter erupted in the courtroom because it looked like something you would see in a bad movie. Just like Donald Trump's lawyers look like lawyers you would see in a bad movie because clearly they're not super great at their job.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you expect from, like, the type of people that you're forced to hire because you don't pay attorneys? Trump is going to go through some things, I think. I mean, in a just and rational world, yes. Yes, he should. Yes, he should. We didn't know that it was that this was happening, but we knew this was happening.
But kudos to Michael Cohen for not only blowing the lid open on all this and, admitting that this is what happened, but kudos to him for finally getting his revenge. I think at this point, Michael...
I mean, he provided evidence that, like, he was, like, doing, like, weird, funny business with money. In fact, he went to jail for this. Well, not for this particularly, but I mean, like, he went to jail for doing weird, funny business with money, right? For fraud. And I think he even testified to Congress that, he was involved in all of this in terms of, like, the fraud schemes.
Cohen has earned it. He deserved that moment, and I hope he enjoyed it. The only issue with any of this, of course, is that Michael Cohen is technically, a convicted criminal. So his testimony, unfortunately, carries a little bit less weight in court simply due to that fact. So it may not be the smoking gun we want it to be. It may not be as powerful in terms of the final decision making of the judge as we'd like it to be. But for Cohen, it's what he's been waiting years to do. And he finally got to do it yesterday. And as I said, he's going to do it even more today. Ring of Fire has...
Well, I mean, if the evidence provided previously matches up with what Cohen's talking about, I mean, if he's telling the truth, he's telling the truth. I'm sure other people are doing the same thing, just not as blatant. Right. Yeah, campaign finance fraud. Gotcha. Yes, that's it. With the whole, check, the whole Stormy Daniels check, I believe.
Momentum is building to fix one of the most corrupt aspects of American healthcare.
The Biden administration is announcing the first batch of prescription drugs that will be subject to new price negotiations with Medicare.
The Inflation Reduction Act, which was signed last year, lets Medicare negotiate on prices for the first time ever.
Medicare's new negotiating ability will lower prices for 10 million American seniors with heart disease, blood cancer, and diabetes. It's expected to save taxpayers $102 billion in the next 10 years. There's just one problem. The pharmaceutical industry is going to war to stop it from happening.
Yeah, no surprise there. I mean, you're gonna cost the pharmaceutical industry profits, and they can't have that. How can they profit off your absolutely necessary medication like this if they're allowed to negotiate? That's the problem.
Pharmaceutical industry is suing to dismantle the program,
calling the drug pricing provisions in the IRA unconstitutional, a sham, tantamount to extortion.
So there...
What? Tantamount to extortion. Wait, is he talking about the law or the pharmaceutical companies? Hold on. One second. Hold on. I gotta rewatch that.
Dismantle the program,
calling the drug pricing provisions in the IRA unconstitutional, a sham, tantamount to extortion.
So there is...
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. So the rule is that anything that this guy says, you always assume the opposite. Okay. You always assume the opposite. It's the Kramer effect. If you didn't want it to be exploited, you should have been normal somewhere else. How idiotic that we've not been negotiating all along. Yeah, like why are here's an even bigger question. Why are we even allowing pharmaceutical companies to inflate prices so much for necessary drugs like insulin or drugs that would treat blood cancers or anything? These are not optional. These things are not optional. These are necessary medications. Heart medication. These are not optional. These are not negotiable in terms of like somebody's health. So why are we allowing them to extort people based on their health, right? Because again, this goes back to the problem with having a for-profit system, because this causes a lot of issues with things like life-saving medication, because you need it. Therefore, companies can charge whatever they want because you are going to pay whatever is necessary to keep yourself alive. They can extort you that way because you need it. There's no negotiating that. If you need insulin, the reality is there's two choices. Either pay the price or you die. That's it. Those are the two choices when it comes to, drugs like that. So, of course, pharmaceutical companies can say, well, you know what? I mean, you want to live, so I guess it's going to be whatever I say the price is going to be. This is called inelastic demand, which basically leads to market failures. So this kind of stuff is at the heart of the problem with for-profit systems, especially when it comes to things like this. I wonder who donates to the campaigns of Congress. All right, somebody get the Scooby-Doo gang on this, okay? But let's keep saying the government workers are corrupt and life will definitely never improve. Yeah, like these are the same people that want these are the same people that like are vehemently against a universal healthcare system. But hey, cheap TV is true. Now that's where it matters, right? That's what we're talking about. Cheap TVs and cheap consumables that mean, nothing. Michael Hathor, zoinks.
There's a lot of money at stake here.
There are now almost 10 lawsuits from drug companies and lobbying groups aiming to block Medicare's new negotiating power. And the thing is, when you start reading through them, it becomes really clear that these arguments, they're pretty much seriously. No one expects them to win on the actual merits. But despite that, the pharmaceutical industry could actually stop negotiations from happening through a coordinated legal strategy that aims to get just one lawsuit in front of the Supreme Court. Let's take a look at how Democrats' efforts to rein in just blatant profiteering have sparked a full-on legal war with some of the most powerful corporations in America. First, you have to understand how the pharmaceutical industry created the most lucrative market in the world by denying Medicare the ability to negotiate in the first place.
Because it's a for-profit system, and eventually this type of behavior is incentivized. It's that simple. Capitalism. I have a Mystery Machine backpack. It was for children's back to school, but I don't care. Hey, I mean, if it works, it works.
Let's rewind to 2003. This guy's president. Republicans control both the House and the Senate. Drug prices are rising, and, Medicare, it doesn't really cover prescription drugs. There's a push to change that, but it's stalled in the House. Some Republicans say it's too expensive, and Democrats, they say the whole thing is designed as an industry handout. To break the gridlock, the industry starts throwing around a bunch of money. Billy Tauzin, a Republican congressman, inserts language that bars Medicare from negotiating prices. That's despite the fact that the bill will make Medicare the largest purchaser of drugs in the world. Meanwhile, the Bush administration really wants this to pass, so they come up with a foolproof strategy to convince holdouts. Just lie. The head of Medicare tells his staff, if you tell the truth about the cost, you're fired.
I considered that inappropriate and, in fact, unethical.
The Republican holdouts, they eventually buy in, and the plan becomes law.
Billy Tauzin of the House of Representatives did great work on this bill.
Tauzin, the congressman who banned Medicare from negotiating, he gets a job as a pharma lobbyist for a rumored $2 million a year.
What?
The guy who told...
Damn, I mean, wow, phenomenal stuff. So not only did he make sure that he took care of the pharmaceutical industry in Congress by being one of the architects that made this happen, but he got rewarded with a multi-million-dollar lobbying job after Congress. Phenomenal stuff, and totally legal, by the way. Okay. Totally legal, by the way. To my understanding, that you can absolutely do this. In fact, that's the case in many Congress people's careers. That's wild. Just think about that for a second. My dude literally just gave the pharmaceutical industry a beautiful handout, a beautiful set of goodies, and then gets rewarded with a multi-million-dollar lobbying job to continue to lobby for their interests. That's wild. That's wild. And yeah, nothing's being done about any of that type of behavior whatsoever.
Told Medicare to lie, he gets a similar gig.
In all, at least 15 congressional staffers, congressmen, and federal
Phenomenal.
officials who worked on the prescription drug bill left to go to work for the pharmaceutical industry.
A few years later,
Phenomenal.
here's what Tozin said about how the law shaped America's drug market.
Your own friend, John Dingell, says of the 1,500 bills over the last 8 years dealing with pharmaceutical issues, the drug companies, almost without exception, have gotten what they wanted.
Yeah, I would think he's correct. They've done fairly well.
Fast forward to today, and Medicare keeps spending more and more money on prescription drugs.
People in the United States are paying more than all people in all other countries of the world put together. In many cases, double or more the amount people in other parts of the world.
Yeah, like if insulin is worth, like, I don't know, just to throw out an arbitrary example. If insulin literally everywhere else in the world is like $10, there are people who are paying, you know, again, this is just an arbitrary number. There are people who are paying like $20 to $30, 2 to 3 times more here. Why? The insulin is you know, the same. Insulin is insulin. And it's just wild that people, not enough people are aware of this. It is disgusting. Sadly, most are taught in Western world that earn any money you can, truth or ethics be damned. Well, yeah, that's at the heart of. It's not just like the Western world, you know, whatever. That's at the heart of capitalism because that's literally the motivating factor, right? You need to produce profit. That's the whole point. That's the name of the game. The name of the game of monopoly is to, well, monopolize control of the board. And you do that by, well, any means necessary. If that means squeezing out all your neighbors out of house and home, then so be it.
And it's because we don't negotiate price.
That's Peter Marmaduke. He heads up Access to Medicines program at Public Citizen. He's been pushing for negotiation for decades.
Most countries in the world give themselves the right to negotiate price at a high government level.
Last year, the Democrats finally gave Medicare that ability through the Inflation Reduction Act. The program allows Medicare to negotiate the prices of just 10 drugs. That might not sound like a lot, but these drugs make up around 20% of the program's cost. By the end of the decade, the law will expand to 60 drugs. These negotiations are similar to how Medicare determines what it will pay hospitals for surgeries and checkups. And the industry reacted, well, pretty strongly.
They've deployed, I believe, $400 million in lobbying expenses against the agreement so far.
The reality is, this isn't even unprecedented in America. Other parts of the government, they already negotiate prices.
It does it with a comparably small team and great success over at the VA. A recent survey of, I think it was 399 drugs, found that the VA had managed to negotiate prices 54% less on average than the prices that Medicare Part D was paying.
That's what this bill is doing. It's giving Medicare a fraction of the power that parts of the federal government and other countries already have. So the pharmaceutical industry...
Yeah, these are the gateway drugs, okay? By the end of the decade, there's going to be 60 of them. Nice. Weird how the banker usually wins Monopoly. That's not the case. That's not how that works. Usually the person who ends up with the whole board, right? They monopolize the whole board. That's who wins, right? And then the table gets flipped, and then you have to start all over, right? Because that's interesting, right? So monopoly is where essentially one person wins everything, wins all the money, and then everybody gets angry. And obviously, it's a little hyperbolic than that, but everybody gets angry and flips over the board, knocking everything out, and then it has to start again. That's an interesting thought. The banker usually cheats. The banker is just there to hand out money. The banker is just there to hand out and receive money. That's it. That's their only position. The person who's like manning the money, that's it. He's not even a player. He's only there to manage the bank, essentially.
Know some cracks are forming. They're about to lose control of their most important market. And since that market's existence is mostly due to corruption, it's tough to argue it in public. So they're trying to do it in the courts. This year, they started filing lawsuits. Here's what they say. Quick corporate costume change. Number 1, this is theft. Medicare is like 40% of the US drug market. It's super important. If we actually negotiated prices, we'd make less money because we'd be crazy not to sell to you. Negotiation, it's actually depriving us of our life, liberty, and property.
No!
2, at the end of the negotiation, you're going to make us sign a document that says stuff about prices being fair? Well, we don't think they're fair, and that's a violation of our free speech.
How is that a violation of your free speech, bro? Explain that one to me. Like, how are you going to manifest that argument? Okay? Whatever.
3, if we decide to ignore the law and sell at whatever price we want, the government is going to tax those extra profits. Not cool. And nearly everyone is like, what are you talking about? After the first lawsuit was filed, one Michigan law professor said the odds of winning were less than the odds of Elizabeth Holmes winning MedTech Innovator of the Year. Another law professor, who doesn't even agree with the Democrats' legislation, said, despite oodles of colorful language, the complaint doesn't seem likely to win.
A number of the claims do seem to be an uphill battle, and that the pharmaceutical industry is
do seem to have an uphill battle. Like, yeah, another way of putting it is they're bullshit. Okay. That's another way of putting it. It's BS.
really going to have a struggle making out a compelling legal argument. The reason this is an uphill battle is because, as the government points out in its responsive briefings, this is a voluntary program, right?
That's the thing. The pharma companies don't actually have to do any of this. It's hard to believe the government is stealing their property when the industry can take their medicine and go home. Or they can negotiate less than 1% of the drugs they sell to Medicare and gain access to the largest drug market in the world. But there's real concern that the lawsuits might work.
Precedent is very much on the government side, but the federal judiciary is a lot more conservative on economic issues than it used to be, and that goes double for the Supreme Court.
The thing is, these lawsuits aren't about presenting sound arguments. They're about gaming the legal system.
Yeah. So, this is like the playbook, okay, that conservatives have needed to deploy because the absurdity of their laws, rules, whatever it is that they've tried to pass, they just won't fly. They just won't fly under any normal circumstances. But because of the makeup of the federal judiciary, where architect Mitch McConnell managed to get a lot of judges, hundreds of judges. I think about what was the statistic? I think it was like 25% during McConnell's reign. That's where the money is. In their opinion, in their eyes, they're going to push this through the judicial system and ultimately bring it to a favorable Supreme Court. In their eyes, one of them's going to stick. One of those lawsuits, it's eventually going to make their way to the Supreme Court. And as we've seen, the Supreme Court is not exactly immune to corruption. So they feel like if there's ever a time, or if there's ever a scenario to take their shot, it's here. Conscious Canuck, welcome. Ali with the 12 biddies, welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sorry. Pushing limits, but almost all games reach the point of futility. Who plays tic-tac-toe? Remember war games? Hey, tic-tac-toe is still kind of fun, right? I need to hide my certificate. Okay, I'm gonna put my certificate away, and I will only take it out when it's necessary. Honestly, SCOTUS is mostly Republican. Well, yeah, they're conservative. The supermajority of the Supreme Court is conservative, so they feel like this, out of all the scenarios, out of all the times, this would be the perfect time.
First, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce tried a Hail Mary. It filed a lawsuit claiming negotiations are so harmful to drug companies that the program needed to be stopped immediately. This fall, it failed on procedural grounds. With the rest of the lawsuits, the industry is looking for what's called a circuit split. That's when 2 or more judges rule differently on the same issue, making it much more likely for the Supreme Court to hear the case and resolve the issue. So the industry is mounting a coordinated attack in different districts across the country. The lawsuits often share attorneys, and they've done a bunch of research and figured out what judges are sympathetic to the industry, and then filed lawsuits in those districts.
They're looking for judges that will be friendly to their case, and they're hoping to get it to the Supreme Court and sort of luck.
SCOTUS is mostly Federalist Society, in some ways even worse. Yep. This is wild. This is wild that this is how it works. And this is the playbook that that conservatives are using. Because they know that, you know, they can't push all of this, you know, through the normal democratic ways. No, they have to find a new plan, which is going through the judiciary, brute force attacks, essentially. Sorry to say, as being a civic streamer, SCOTUS is not fair or balanced. No, I don't believe so. They're corrupt. They're corrupt.
Out.
It's hard to speculate how things will turn out, but what we've seen with the recent composition of this court is a greater willingness to maybe revisit historical precedents and to take the law in new directions.
So we don't know what's going to happen. This is a fight that's been going on for decades. The pharmaceutical industry wins most of the time, but the Democrats delivered a rare victory. And now, it might be in jeopardy.
It's important to understand that the industry has more than 2 lobbyists for every member of Congress. And so at any perceived threat, pharma will deploy its forces and bombard the airwaves. And so it's important collectively that we fight back and turn that aggressiveness back against pharma and say, actually, you know what, the American people think negotiating is very reasonable and fair pricing is essential.
Yep, but the problem is you're never going to get that under a for-profit system because by definition, what is fair price? What is fair price when it comes to, you know, your life? The one thing Trump did right was to shatter the conservative stranglehold on the country. Maybe by being so absolutely absurd. I guess that's one way of looking at it. Okay, everyone. Remember, everyone, if GOP wins more power, then the 2025 project by the Heritage Foundation will wipe out the Dems and or leftists. I don't know if like they'll wipe out the Dems, but the problem is, as we've probably talked about ad nauseum, is that it will attempt to consolidate power in a way we have not seen in a while, and I think that it definitely needs to be paid attention to. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. It's dangerous. Okay? There's a reason why they've been talking about this for a while now. And they feel like they have the pieces in place, especially with the Supreme Court, especially if they manage to flip the Senate and expand their lead in the House. Ali with the 12 biddies, thank you. Yeah, it is pretty scary, huh? It is pretty scary. Alright, folks, let's shift some gears here Texas counties ban use of roads to help women travel for abortion. Yep. That's the thing, folks. A Texas county near New Mexico, where abortion is still legal, has banned helping people travel to get an abortion, one of the newest ways conservatives are trying to restrict abortion access since the fall of Roe v. Wade. Yeah. So that's the thing. True. Legislating morality from the bench with an unconstitutionally packed court of law wizards taking bribes from Nazi collectors just like the founders intended. True. Jesus. Lubbock County is the largest of 4 Texas counties that now have adopted a measure. So, yeah. So this is spreading. The reason why it's important to pay attention is because as I've said before, depending on how this plays out, these are blueprints. So another way of putting it is coming to a county near you. Okay. If this works out, if this pans out, this is a blueprint. Lubbock County is the largest of 4 Texas counties that have now adopted a version of the measure, which would be enforced through lawsuits by private citizens against people who help women obtain abortions. It's the same legal mechanism that Texas used to enact the abortion restriction in 2021 before the Supreme Court allowed the state to ban near all abortions entirely. So it's the same playbook. Once it worked, now it just gets rehashed, repackaged, and distributed. In this case, that same vigilante bill, which allowed a person to sue for, I think it was up to $10,000 if they aid and abet people who got abortions. Well, now we just turned that into, well, we're going to do the same concept, the vigilante law, where you can sue people who help people get abortions at another state where it's legal. So it's a quasi restriction of freedom of movement, which is wild. That's a wild concept, right? That this is even a thing. Commissioners in West Texas County adopted the measure 3-0 at a meeting Monday, rejecting some requests to postpone the vote. The ordinance has many legal problems. That's one way of putting it, said Lubbock County judge. I mean, it's literally restricting the freedom of... It's a quasi roundabout way of restricting movement. You can't do that. That's unconstitutional. Because pregnant women should be harassed mercilessly because pro-life. Exactly. Exactly, true. The ordinance has many legal problems, said the Lubbock County judge, Curtis Parrish, the county's top elected officials. This ordinance, however, does not have a problem with its intent or the intent of those who are passionate about this. I don't give a shit about that. The measures expand on the city ordinance rule Texas cities began passing in 2019 to ban abortion within their boundaries, even if the cities did not have clinics performing abortions. Critics have attacked the campaign as an effort to intimidate women from seeking abortion in places where it remains legal. It's exactly it. Mark Dixon, a Texas pastor, of course, has led the effort, praised the vote. Quote, guys, I longed for the day when coast-to-coast abortion is considered a great moral, social, and political wrong and is outlawed in every single state. I mean, and yes, that's he means that, and that's exactly what the goal is. And well, look at that. No violations of the travel prohibition have been reported in the counties with similar measures already on the books. The measures would not punish women who are seeking abortion, but would present legal risks to people who help transport them to get the procedure. I mean, like, how do you even make that determination? Cancer is life too, exactly. It's a cell, right? And again, just to reiterate, because I know I've said this like 10,000 times, I've said this 10,000 times, but they're not going to stop. Just because Roe v. Wade fell, they're not going to stop. This isn't the thing that we won and then that's it. No. Legal experts have questioned whether the ordinance could even be enforced. We haven't had this kind of issue tested, so it's really a kind of a case of first impression, said Seema Mohapatra, I don't know, a health law expert and law professor at Southern Methodist University. The Lubbock County Sheriff's Office declined to comment on the ban or its implementation. The Lubbock County has about 317 residents and far outnumbers the population of the 3 other Texas counties, Mitchell, Goliad, and Cochran, that have approved these ordinances in recent months, with each county's population fewer than 10,000 residents. Highways through Lubbock County run to New Mexico, which has some of the most permissive abortion laws in the U.S., which is probably why they did this in this particular county. The ban does not apply to cities within Lubbock County, including the city of Lubbock, which is about 264,000 of the county's residents. Lubbock voters in 2021 adopted a similar measure. Texans already live with some of the most restrictive and dangerous abortion bans in the country, yet anti-abortion extremists continue to push additional, unnecessary, confusing, and fear-inducing barriers to essential health care. Absolutely, and that's the point, right? That's exactly the point. Said Autumn Kaiser, the spokesperson for Planned Parenthood of Greater Texas. Texas is one of 13 states that ban abortions at all stages of pregnancy. In August, a Texas judge ruled that the state's ban was too restrictive for women with pregnancy complications, but that ruling was swiftly put on hold after the appeal by the state. Jesus Christ. Imagine, wait a minute. This is too restrictive. We need to put some exceptions when it comes to pregnancy complications, but that was immediately appealed. That's just wild. That's just ridiculous. That's just wild. And again, this is only Republicans who are passing this kind of stuff. When Republicans get into power, this is the kind of stuff you get. The Texas law passed prior to the Supreme Court's ruling that overturned Roe v. Wade decision that allowed... okay, so this Texas law was passed prior to the Roe v. Wade overturning decisions. So, yeah. Phenomenal stuff coming out of Texas. And again, by the way, if this becomes if this is a good playbook, it's going to be deployed in other places, guaranteed. Just like there was copycat laws of that vigilante law in other states, just like there was copycat laws of that same vigilante law where you would sue people for aiding and abetting an abortion before they overturned Roe. That law was copycatted in other states. If this works, then they're going to do the same thing in other states to essentially cut off or attempt to cut off by either just the chilling effect by itself, or by going after people who help people get abortions. I mean, this is wild. Mouselander, how's it going? Welcome. Welcome, welcome. I like those Pepe emotes. Wonderful stuff. All right, folks, we're going to have to shift gears here because there have been some interesting developments in the Trump case. Donald Trump fined $10,000 for second gag order violation in the civil fraud case. So, I mean, at what point, do we say that this dude just needs to be locked up? Because clearly, just fining him isn't doing the trick, right? Warning him isn't doing the trick. Fining him isn't doing the trick. I mean, in any other circumstance, under any other circumstance, anybody else would be in jail. Period. Full stop. Trump is senile. I don't disagree. I like the mouse shaking his bum. Yeah, Mouselander has a bunch of cool mouse emotes. He cannot keep his mouth shut. Yeah, agreed, 100%. And yet he's still not in jail. And yet somehow he's still not in jail. Phenomenal stuff. Donald Trump was fined $10,000 on Wednesday after the New York judge overseeing his civil fraud case said the former president for a second time violated the gag order, barring him from disparaging court staff. Justice Engoron had imposed the gag order on October 3rd after Trump shared that on social media. A photo of the judge's top clerk posing with the Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, a Democrat, and falsely calling her Schumer's girlfriend. During a trial break on Wednesday in the civil lawsuit brought by the Attorney General, Letitia James, concerning Trump's business practices, Trump told reporters, "This judge is a very partisan judge, with a person who's very partisan sitting alongside him, perhaps even more partisan than he is." What are you talking about, bro? Engoron, surmising that Trump was referring to his clerk, called the comments a blatant violation of the gag order. Yeah, it was literally the top official. Trump's comments to reporters came as Michael Cohen, his one-time lawyer and fixer, testified for a second day against his former boss. Before being fined, Trump briefly took the witness stand and told judge he was referring to you and Cohen during his hallway remarks. The judge rejected the idea echoed by Trump's lawyer. Christopher Key said that the partisan person who Trump was mentioned was Cohen. I mean, yeah, you know, like you could perform however much Olympic levels of mental gymnastics, dude. Whatever. Lock him up. The idea that the statement would refer to the witness, that doesn't make any sense to me. Don't do it again or it would be worse. I mean, bro, another warning? Another warning? Off topic, the White House has requested $1.5 billion from Congress to address the illicit fentanyl driving overdose deaths across the country as part of a broader funding package. Or you could begin decriminalization efforts and pour more money into rehabilitation. Hopefully that's what that money is going to. But yeah. Engoron's clerk has been sitting next to the judge during the trial, which is standard practice in the New York State Court. Aldina Habba, one of Trump's lawyers, told Engoron that Engoron, she saw the clerk appear to roll her eyes while Cohen was testifying, and that this was completely inappropriate. Bro, really? Really? That's the whataboutism you're gonna try to pull? Okay. Whatever. On October 20th, Engoron fined Trump $5,000 after finding he had not taken down the post disparaging the clerk and warned that future transgressions would bring far more severe sanctions, including jail. In originally imposing the gag order, Engoron said comments directed against his staff were unacceptable and inappropriate and will not be tolerated under any circumstances. But apparently they are, because he is not, he's still being allowed to do this. Yeah, he is like a mobster. He really does act like a mobster. I don't know if this is like some weird like reality that he lives in his head, that he thinks like he's like a mob boss and acts like one. But yeah, 100%, he does really act like a mob boss. Trump, the frontrunner of the Republican nomination to challenge the Democratic President Biden in the election, walked out of the room after being fined. Okay. The civil trial concerns allegations that Trump and his family business, the Trump Organization, unlawfully manipulated asset values and his net worth to dupe lenders and insurers. This case could break up Trump's business empire. On Tuesday, Cohen came face-to-face with Trump for the first time in 5 years, testifying that Trump arbitrarily inflated the value of his real estate assets to secure favorable insurance premiums. Cohen also testified on Tuesday that his former boss doctored financial statements so property values would match whatever number Mr. Trump told us. So this is the stuff we were going over earlier. I mean, the dude keeps doing it, right? I will soon be leaving for crooked Joe Biden's political opponent court in Lower Manhattan. Like, no, dude, this has nothing to do with Joe Biden. Okay? I think he's had a lot of people whacked. I don't know. Remember the drug smuggling in the 80s? How did he get out of that? Yeah, I'm not aware of that. Breaking: Trump is rocked by terrible news as judge rules against him in his desperate attempt to dismiss a Colorado lawsuit that aims to remove him from the 2024 ballot. Due to his insurrections could be a total disaster for MAGA. The judge stated that Trump failed to provide any evidence or credible case law to support his argument that the case is non-justiciable political question. Maybe. Roy Cohn wasn't a lawyer for nice guys. Gotcha. I have a very partisan and angry judge, a corrupt attorney general. Like, he's literally making comments about, like, the court. I mean, whatever. I built a great company far bigger and stronger than anyone had assumed. Like, this is already, I think, like, the comments like this is already enough. Comments like this is already enough for me. The dude should be in jail. The dude should be in jail. This guy cannot be president again. No, he cannot. He definitely cannot. And it would be in everybody's best interest if he wasn't. It would be in everybody's best interest if he wasn't. So, yeah. And what's wild is that he could win, folks. Okay? What's wild is he could win. Okay? I don't know if you guys caught one of those posts there, but Trump basically approved Mike Johnson as speaker. So he, as I was saying earlier, he got the Daddy Trump endorsement. So that being said, let's talk about the circus coming to an end, more or less, as a speaker has been selected. I don't think the old guard in the GOP want him again. It doesn't really matter. Okay? It doesn't matter. He's going to win the nomination. Like, whether they like him or not, or agree with him or not. A, they're not doing anything to stop him. And B, they can't. They can't. So, for all intents and purposes, like, a lot of these people, whether they like him or not, whether they want him or not, they end up falling behind him anyways. So it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. Sorry. It doesn't matter to me. So, like, they'll say that, like, oh, they don't agree with Trump or whatever. They'll still vote for his policies. No, they'll still vote for his policies. They'll still support his presidential run. They'll still vote for him. So, for all intents and purposes, it doesn't matter. Old guard or not, all the GOP is the same. All the GOP is MAGA. all the GOP. The GOP is Trump's party. There's no difference. There's no even point. There's no point in trying to distinguish between like MAGA Republicans and Trump. They're just Trump Republicans, all of them. I mean, you can even see it. Like the person that they selected was blessed. Was blessed by Daddy Trump. Okay, the person who's going to win speakership, like it or whether the old guard likes it or not, it was going to be somebody that Trump blessed. Okay, that's how much the second in line to the presidency. Okay, blessed by Daddy Trump. Trump ally Mike Johnson elected to Speaker 3 weeks after the McCarthy ousting. The Republican-led House elected Mike Johnson as the new House Speaker on Wednesday. A major leadership change. Okay. After historic ouster of Kevin McCarthy, Johnson, a vocal supporter of President Trump and a key congressional figure in the failed efforts to overturn the election. So those are the two keys, right? Those are the two keys. Those are the two keys. So you have to kiss Daddy Trump's ass, and you have to be an election denier, right? So I mean that's literally just a MAGA Republican. It's the same thing. There's no distinguishable difference. They found themselves a new patsy. Good for them. A new patsy. No, this is who they like. This is who represents them. If Trump wins again, the world is over. Well, it's certainly going to be not great, not good. Johnson is basically a younger Mike Pence who did more than Pence to keep Trump in office. Jeez. Johnson, a vocal supporter of President Trump and a key congressional figure in the failed efforts to overturn the election, will now take the reins of the bitterly divided House Republican majority and faces the looming threat of a government shutdown next month, or a couple of weeks from now. Johnson's elevation put an end to the paralysis that the House had been stuck in after McCarthy was pushed out by far-right conservatives. I mean, whatever, same thing. An unprecedented move that plunged the chamber into uncharted territory. Republicans tried and failed 3 separate times to coalesce behind a new speaker nominee before ultimately uniting around Johnson, a conservative, a far-right lawmaker who has so far been relatively low profile on the national stage. In a remarkable show of unity following weeks of fierce GOP infighting, the Louisiana Republican was elected with 220 votes and no Republican defections. I saw Focus on the family and gagged. Everyone running for speaker was an election denier in 2020. Yep. Unless Johnson gets fired by Marjorie Taylor Greene cooperating with Biden and or Dems in the Senate. Well, he's in the House. But I don't know. I don't know. It seems that he's extreme enough. So I don't know. It's highly unlikely that this will happen again. It's highly unlikely that they will do a vote to vacate, especially after this debacle. It is very highly unlikely. But I've been wrong. I've been wrong before. I've been wrong before. I thought that that the speaker nonsense was going to take way longer. And they did it on the fourth try. So I've been wrong before. The new speaker will now face a litany of pressing issues. Government funding is set to expire November 17th, and the GOP-controlled House will need to work with the Democratic-led Senate to avert a shutdown, setting up an early leadership test for Johnson. Lawmakers must also decide whether to send further aid to Ukraine as it fights its war against Russian aggression, as well as its aid to Israel in the war against Hamas. There's widespread bipartisan support for aid to Israel, but many House Republicans are opposed to sending additional aid to Ukraine. Johnson, fresh off his victory on the House floor, said he would pursue an aggressive schedule in the weeks ahead and alluded to the chaos that had paralyzed the House and distracted from the GOP agenda. You're going to see an aggressive schedule in the days and weeks ahead. You're going to see Congress working as hard as ever as it's worked to screw you over, and we're going to deliver for the insert whatever industrial complexes, he said. We're going through a little bit of suffering. We've gone through a little bit of character building. Sure, if that's how you want to play it out. And you know what has produced more strength and perseverance and a lot of hope is that we're about to deliver for the special interest, the oligarchy, and capital. Johnson was first elected to the House in 2016 and previously served as vice chairman of the House Republican Conference, a Trump ally. He supported objections to the Electoral College results, where Congress met to certify Biden's win. A day a pro-Trump insurrection happened seeking to overturn the results of the election. He also lobbied fellow Republicans to support a Texas lawsuit seeking to overturn the election. I mean, like, this dude's the complete package when it comes to the election denialism, right? A reporter was loudly booed by the House GOP members for asking Johnson after he became the speaker designate if he stands by his decision to support overturning the election. I mean, I think that's pretty important, right? Like that's actually pretty important because, like, the second in line to the presidency is literally an election denier to the degree that not only was he against certifying the results of a perfectly fine and executed election. There's nothing wrong with the 2020 election that would change the results in any way, shape, or form. There was no shenanigans except by Republicans to overturn this result. Okay, Democrats didn't create the schemes in several states to shoehorn fake electors. Okay, so in other words, the election results were the correct results. There was no evidence to suggest that there was some widespread scheme of voter fraud or anything like that, except the schemes that were uncovering of election fraud by Republicans. That's it. And so this guy is second in line to the presidency, and he's an election denier to the point where not only did he he didn't vote to certify the results, but he also even supported a lawsuit seeking to overturn the election. This is just out of hand, and this is the second in line. The Republicans chose this guy unanimously, as he and blessed, of course, by Daddy Trump. In Colorado, the lawsuit now has steam and argues that Trump must be disqualified from office due to the insurrection clause of the 14th Amendment. I mean, like, it would be nice if that picked up steam in other states as well. Third in line, yeah, like third in line, but like without counting the president, because like the simulacra actually pointed this out. The president isn't in line, so it's the president, the vice president, and then the speaker. So like second in line, like second in waiting, maybe I should phrase it. But yeah, I guess third in the sense of like in the order. The fight for the speaker gavel has opened new rifts among House Republicans and deepened old ones. Republicans rallied around Johnson in a display of unity, but it remains to be seen how long that will hold. Johnson secured that nomination for speakership late Tuesday in a vote that capped off a chaotic day with Republicans picking Representative Tom Emmer to be their latest nominee, only for him to drop out after facing stiff resistance from the right flank of conference and a rebuke from Trump. After winning it can't be any more demonstrable than this, right? Like, the guy who wasn't personally endorsed by Trump, wasn't anointed or blessed by Trump. It was just a non-starter. In a post on Truth Social, Trump called Emmer a globalist rhino. Whew, boy. Yikes. Yikes. A globalist rhino. Yeah, and said that voting for him would be a tragic mistake. So therefore, obviously, he was not anointed by the dear leader. Emmer was the third Republican to win the nomination only to exit the race after failing to lock up the necessary votes, following Jordan and Scalise. Jordan, was known as a Trump ally and a fierce conservative agitator, took his fight for speakership to the floor in a bid to put members on the record, but failed to secure the gavel in 3 separate rounds. Some Republicans who opposed Jim cried what they described a pressure campaign against them by allies of the Ohio Republican. Okay, so we already went through all of this. So who is this guy? If they get rid of Biden and Harris, Johnson can make Trump king. Well, I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's like that. James Napper Tandy just sent this on the Discord. Who's the fourth in line? That's a good question. I think it's who is Oh, okay. So it would be the vice president, the Speaker of the House, the president pro tempore of the Senate, which is Pat Murray, and then it would be the Secretary of State. The Senate leader? No, the president pro tempore of the Senate. So not like the majority leader, but the president of the Senate, which is the vice president. But in the meantime, the pro tempore is a president of the Senate. Yeah, the Senate leader. Yep. So besides being an abhorrent human being, let's take a look at what this guy did in terms of the election. So also just to note, I saw some of the posts that you put. I saw some of the posts that you put here. So let me just take a little window into who this guy is, the new speaker, the person that Republicans decided that this is our guy. Alio put here, during a House Judiciary Committee hearing, Representative Mike Johnson, now Speaker, attacking Roe v. Wade, insisting that if only women were compelled to bring more able-bodied workers into the world, Republicans wouldn't need to slash Social Security and Medicare. Yeah. So people have made the argument that this whole abortion thing is also tied into the whole capitalism thing. Mike Johnson just literally says it out loud. We if only women were compelled, that's an interesting word, compelled to bring more able-bodied workers into this world, then we wouldn't need to slash Social Security and Medicare. So that's the thing that was said. That was an argument that was put forth by the new Speaker of the House. That's their guy. And of course, he has attacked. Medicare, proposing cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Par for the courts for Republicans. But just to give you an idea of the type of guy that this dude is, right? Yeah, you should be angry. Amy Coney Barrett referred to babies as domestic supply. Holy shoot, really? That was an actual quote? Jesus. Had to step away from the keyboard? Nah, you're good. Yeah, there's a chain of succession. We went over that. So it's the it's the Vice President, the House Speaker, the Senate President, and then the Secretary of State. So now that we got that out of the way, Oh, when she voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. Jesus. Oh my God. Wow. Phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, the quiet part out loud and nobody cares. I mean, that's probably why they're so comfortable in putting people like Mike Johnson and as the Speaker of the House. I mean, all of these people are getting way, way, way too emboldened. Consistently saying the quiet part out loud is not needed anymore. Not needed anymore. If only there were examples of any other countries that have robust incentives and programs to help young families get started and have babies. If only, right? If only. If only, like, like literally any other country, okay? You can just literally go on a map and just go boop. Probably has much more social safety nets to actually provide for families. And mind you, these are the same people that are making these type of arguments. They're the same people who claim to be the party of family values or whatever. But will never, ever, 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 ever put down more resources towards actually helping people alleviate any social, socioeconomic circumstances, which would, in effect, encourage people to have families because they could, afford them. I guess we can't do that. We got to take away your rights and force you to do it. Oh, and you get no support too. Exactly. Unless people want autocracy, why vote for the GOP? There's actually no reason at all to vote for the GOP. There's actually zero reasons to vote for the GOP at all. Freedom or some BS. Yeah, BS is the operative words there. Because freedom, that's not a thing that they believe in. That's a farce. So yeah, I don't know why anybody would vote for the GOP unless that all of this is bypassed by the thought process that, well, they don't like the same people that I do, and that's okay. So I guess that's what we're gonna go for. I just read up on Johnson, personal mistake. Yeah, I mean, like, stand-up guy, right? What a stand-up guy. What a stand-up guy. All right, so let's talk about this. Speaker nominee, and now House Speaker, played a key role in efforts to overturn the election. Well, before he was elected House Speaker, Johnson played a key role in efforts by then-President Trump and his allies to overturn the 2020 election. Johnson, who served as the GOP caucus vice chair and an ally of Trump, led the amicus brief signed more than 100 House Republicans in support of a Texas lawsuit seeking to invalidate the 2020 election. Results in 4 swing states won by Biden, which is Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. That lawsuit, filed by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, also a Republican, called on the Supreme Court to delay the electoral votes in 4 states in order for investigations on voting issues to continue amid Trump's refusal to concede his loss. Yeah, he won. Yep, this is the guy. This is the guy. Late to the party? No worries. The TLDR is that this is the guy they went with. Amy referring them to them as baby stock is some literate corporate line item expense language, but that can't be. We don't have a government owned by corporations at all. True. Jeez. Yeah, Echo Rester Dragon. Yep, he that's the guy they went with. To investigate on issues to continue the investigations on voting issues to continue amid Trump's refusal to concede his loss It alleged that the 4 states changed voting rules without their legislators' express approval before the 2020 election. Johnson at the time sought support from his GOP colleagues for the lawsuit, sending them an email with the subject line "time-sensitive request from President Trump," at the direction of. So nothing happens without without Daddy's approval. Like, do you see like why it makes literally no point to distinguish Republicans from just like MAGA? They are MAGA. Like there's no point in saying like, oh well, some Republicans are not MAGA and some Republicans are. It's no difference. And current professor at Liberty University. David has a video on the election, but I've not watched it yet. I'm pretty sure we're going to overlap on some points. That's the only reason I didn't play it. Although he might have a little bit more backstory on this absolute ghoul. But yeah. Trump's wigs. President Trump called me this morning to express his great appreciation for our effort to file an amicus brief in the Texas case on behalf of concerned members of Congress, Johnson wrote in the 2020 email, which is obtained by NBC News. He specifically asked me to contact all Republican members of the House and Senate today and request that all join in on the brief. On to our brief, he said that he will be anxiously awaiting the final list to review. The lawsuit swiftly drew backlash from battleground state attorney generals who decried it as a publicity stunt full of false and irresponsible allegations. Legal experts also pointed out into a series of hurdles that the lawsuit had faced, saying that Texas lacked the authority to claim that officials in other states failed to follow the rules set by their own legislators. Right, like, okay, cool. Thanks, but we don't need Texas dictating what everybody else can do. In terms of like the elections, especially considering 0 Republicans voted against Johnson. Right, like notice how any of these speakers who have thrown their hat in the ring, notice how none of them had the like explicit blessing of President Trump or former President Trump. Only maybe Jordan, and his speakership was torpedoed only because he was literally bullying the other Republicans, so that's the only reason he lost. I guarantee that if he didn't try those like strong arm tactics, he might have actually won. Jim Jordan might have actually won. But immediately, any speaker candidate that was not personally blessed by the dear leader didn't even make it. Like they didn't have it was a non-starter. It was a non-starter. No better example than like the Republican Party selected Emmer, but because Trump said that he was a globalist rhino, that went out the window that same day. He immediately had to suspend his bid for speaker. So yeah. Johnson's role in pursuing to overturn the election results have regained attention recently amid his speakership bid. On Tuesday, the political team of former Republicans, Liz Cheney of Wyoming, who broke with Trump over his baseless claims of stolen elections, circulated a New York Times article that called him the most important architect of the Electoral College objection on January 6 of 2021, aimed at keeping then-President Trump in office even after he lost. The Times reported last year that many Republicans who voted to discount pro-Biden electors cited an argument crafted by Johnson, which was to ignore the false claims about mass fraud in the election and to hang on the objection on the claim that certain states' voting changes during the COVID pandemic were unconstitutional. I mean, like, again, this wasn't like just Trump and a couple of guys, okay? This wasn't Trump and a couple of his, campaign staff and lawyers that, made up all this. The Republican Party as a whole, from local to state to federal, including this guy, we're all in this. Okay, they were all in on this scheme. That's wild. I mean, like, it still blows my mind. It still blows my mind how Republicans have managed to do this and not received nearly the deserved backlash for this. Okay? Because I think that a lot of these people should be immediately removed from Congress and investigated. The fact that this whole scheme even got as far as it did is beyond me. And it still shocks me. Not like shocking as like I'm surprised, but like shocking at like how brazen it is. At how brazen they were in doing this. As insurrectionists were taking over were overtaking the Capitol on January 6th, Johnson told Fox News in an interview that there was nothing unusual about Republican lawmakers' objections about the Electoral College certification, and there had been many objections over the years. Okay, but like, what is the premise of the objection, dude? The premise of the objection to the Electoral College certification is that you believe that, well, I don't know if you believe, I don't know. But you're saying that there was a massive fraud and irregularity and this needs to be reviewed when there's no evidence of that. That never happened. You're making this based off a lie that you, I guess, bought in, whether you believe it or not. The point is you bought into the lie by President Trump at the time. I'm here as one of the advocates on the Republican side stating our concerns about this election and the allegations of fraud and irregularity and all that, he said. No, this just never happened. Any irregularity and allegations of fraud, it's just baseless. It never happened. Not to what they're claiming. The Supreme Court ultimately rejected Texas' effort to overturn the election results because, of course, Texas has not demonstrated judicially cognizable interest in the manner in which another state conducts its elections, the court said in a brief, unsigned opinion. They didn't even bother to go any further with that. I won't let this little thing like evidence get in the way. True. Was streaming on the morning of Wednesday of January 6th on Twitch. Yep, I was here. We all saw what happened. We all saw it go down. We all witnessed, the shenanigans that happened, the insurrection. So yeah, this is the type of guy that they've decided that this is who they're gonna make speaker, who they made speaker. And just again to show like this is Daddy Trump's party. Okay, there is no Republican Party. It for all intents and purposes, it is just MAGA. So I think it's best if we just call them just MAGA. They're all MAGA. Like that whole movement is just the Republican Party. So my point being is that I think it's better to just not distinguish. And I think it's important for people. And the reason why we do that is to reiterate that point. Because as far as I know right now, it is quite possible that Trump wins the election at this point in time. Could things start to shift later on? Yes, of course. But it is a possibility. So we have to keep an eye on that. All right, folks, we made it. Smooth sailing today. Smooth sailing today, folks. All right. And on time, like 7 o'clock on the dot. Look at that. Look at that. Phenomenal timing, folks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It really does help us out, okay? Sorry for the rocky start. But we got it. We made it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your biddies, follows, subscriptions, all of that. Thank you so much. If you want to support the channel but cannot do so monetarily, please click the link there that Michael Astor has put. and hit the big red subscribe button on the YouTube, as 247 of you have already done. Thank you guys. Thank you folks who have joined us on YouTube. I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Michael Hassler, for keeping the chat chill. I appreciate it. Thank you all. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Alvion, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Peace! Sorry, folks. I'm hungry. Hang tight, folks. Appreciate it, Heat. Appreciate it, Michael Hassler. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.